New this morning, a major move restricting abortion access to millions. Florida's governor signs a law banning most abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. We'll break down what this law means for people throughout the South, plus the legal challenges it could face.
Happening now, the man suspected of leaking classified government documents will appear in federal court today. What we're learning about the member of the Air National Guard accused of exposing documents on everything from U.S. allies to the war in Ukraine.
Plus, police make an arrest in the murder of a top tech executive. The new information investigators are revealing about the suspected killer and any potential motive.
And happening now, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is heading back to Capitol Hill. What we're learning about his return to the Senate more than a month after he suffered a concussion. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Zinclea Samoa.
And I'm Valerie Castro. Joe and Savannah are on assignment. We begin with news overnight out of Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law one of the strictest abortion bills in the country late last night. That new law would ban most abortions in the state after just 6 weeks. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett joins us now with more on this. Laura, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Laura, what is the significance of the 6-week mark here with this bill?
Well, obviously, at 6 weeks, many women, maybe most women, don't even know they're pregnant. And so by doing it so early, it really does restrict access to abortion. And we should be clear that this bill, although the governor has signed it, it doesn't actually go into effect right away. Right now in the state of Florida, there's a 15-week ban on abortion, and that's been caught up in the state's Supreme Court. Some people have challenged it under the state's constitution. And so until that all gets resolved, you won't see this more restrictive 6-week ban go into effect.
Laura, DeSantis was notably quiet about this announcement. He only made this Twitter post late last night. What do you make of that?
It's an interesting contrast to when he signed the 15th-week ban that I mentioned. That one was done with a lot of fanfare. There were speeches. It was obviously not done in the middle of the night, whereas this is just one sort of Twitter picture and much more quiet and perhaps reflects the political environment has changed.
Do we know when this law might go into effect?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Like I mentioned, there's some legal challenges, and the way the law is written right now is once the Supreme Court resolves the constitutionality of the existing ban, then 30 days after that, the law would go into effect, assuming they agree that it is constitutional.
All right, a lot to keep an eye on. Laura Jarrett, thanks so much.
Anytime.
And a Massachusetts Air National Guardsman is in custody this morning, suspected of leaking classified military documents. The materials rattling the Biden administration, lawmakers, and the nation's closest allies. 21-year-old Jack Teixeira was arrested yesterday. He's suspected of leaking hundreds of classified documents online on a gaming platform called Discord. He'll make his first court appearance today. NBC News correspondent Ron Allen joins us now from Boston with the latest. So, Ron, just jumping in here, what do we know about Teixeira's role within the Massachusetts Air National Guard, and why did he have access to such highly classified documents?
From what we understand, Zinclea, he was an IT guy. He was assigned to the intelligence wing of the Air National Guard. So, as one person put it, he would not have necessarily needed to use this classified information, but he may have built the systems and maintained the systems that it flows through. So that's presumably how he had access to all this information. We're still waiting word from the court as to when this first appearance is going to happen. We're getting some guidance that it's going to happen this morning, so we will see. And we suspect that he's going to be charged under the Espionage Act, as essentially what you would charge someone who was spying on the U.S. government. It carries very stiff penalties. It's like up to 10 years per count. And in this situation, a document is a count. So if he is responsible for leaking hundreds of documents, you could add up the prison time potentially that he faces. Merrick Garland described what he did as the unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information. The Pentagon described it as a deliberate criminal act. But again, we're hoping that this morning we will hear more detail about all that in court.
And Ron, earlier we were seeing aerial footage of Teixeira's arrest. What do we know about the investigation leading up to that moment? Do we know what led federal officials to him and how they located him?
We know some details, and some are still being reported on to try and figure this whole thing out. He's unusual in that he is not your typical whistleblower. He's also apparently wasn't working for a foreign government or with a foreign government or a foreign actor in any way. As you explained, he was part of a gaming group. There were 20 or 30 people, we understand, in this And one person in the group apparently posted one of these documents in a more public on a site where more people had access to it. And basically, once that was out there and the government was aware of this material, they tracked Tashir down to his mother's home there in Massachusetts, where he was arrested yesterday.
So, Ron, after the arraignment today, what's next? What's happening?
Well, the criminal court process continues here in federal court. For the United States, of course, this raises a lot of questions. How did he do it? Who else was involved? Merrick Garland said the investigation continues. There's word that the U.S. is stepping up its and looking at how it monitors social media sites, especially obscure sites like this. This was happening in a private chat room, which of course raises all kinds of issues about what the government can do or not do in terms of surveillance and monitoring this particular environment of the web. So all that is up for review and discussion as they try to figure out what happened, how it happened, and of course, how to stop it from happening again.
Ron Allen in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you so much.
Now for an update on the fire that has left a cloud of smoke over Richmond, Indiana. As of last night, Richmond Mayor Dave Smith said the fire has been fully extinguished after 2 days of efforts. The EPA is continuing to test for levels of possible toxic chemicals, but officials warn if you live downwind of the area to stay inside with your windows closed and AC units off.
Meanwhile, in Florida, a massive cleanup begins today in Broward County. That area saw record rainfall yesterday that led to catastrophic flooding. Hundreds of people have been displaced from their homes. So let's get an update on your Morning News Now weather forecast and what we can expect this weekend.
Meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now. Good morning, Angie.
Morning, ladies. Yeah, it's pretty incredible how much rain they received in just 24 hours. They broke a state record for that with over 25 inches happening. That previous record was from a tropical system, so no surprise there. In the meantime, they're getting a bit of a break, a much welcomed break, I'm sure, for parts of South Florida, stretching basically from Fort Lauderdale down to Key West. They are dry for now. Doesn't mean that into the afternoon hours we couldn't see some of these showers and thunderstorms firing up around, say, 3 o'clock. If you live in that area, just be mindful of that. We likely could see another ½ an inch. Nothing quite as impressive as previous days, but still doesn't help when we're trying to clean up after all of that water has fallen. Now, across the southeast, we also have some unsettled weather. We have a system that's working across parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and into Georgia here through the day. And we're going to continue to see some rain falling in parts of the Carolinas as well. Meanwhile, it is warm out there. Have you noticed? We're running 5 to 25 degrees above normal for this time of year, and that's again the story today with 113 million people, much higher than that. We're talking from 15 to 25 degrees above normal, 113 million people. That's a lot of people from the Midwest to the Northeast feeling more like summer than spring. And not to mention, we have the potential once again today to break a ton of records into the afternoon hours. They're going to spread across potentially 13 states. So we'll watch for that in places like New York, Binghamton, Syracuse, Flint, Saginaw. Most of it, temperatures will range into the upper 80s to low 90s for some spots. But check out places like Chicago, 82 degrees, still warm for this time of year, 24 degrees above normal. Cleveland heads to 81. Lexington, you'll end up at 75 degrees. As we look to those records across those 13 states that I mentioned, 91 for Scranton. That's going to blow past the record that we currently have right now of 84 degrees. New York will make a run for the record again this afternoon after breaking that record yesterday. And Detroit heads for 80 degrees with that current record set at 81. And it's not just today. We'll start to see things moderating out, but it'll be kind of a slow burn. We'll end up with temperatures into the mid 70s for places like Baltimore. So a little cooler, but still well above normal for this time of year in a lot of places. Lexington hits 79 degrees tomorrow, and we'll continue to see that cooler air start to filter in and return back to more normal temperatures. And it happens kind of in a hurry in New York. Sunday we'll end up into the upper 60s, and by Tuesday we're into the low 60s. A bit of a more drastic temperature swing here as we get into Sunday. Upper 70s out there. Monday ends up at 48 degrees. So we'll be watching for that through Pittsburgh as well, with the 80s out there into the low 50s Monday and Tuesday. As far as what you can expect for some rain, some severe storms, that is all on the table thanks to this system that's working through parts of the center of the country. That's going to bring rain, strong storms, And yeah, you guessed it, some snow to places like Minneapolis. I don't know how people will handle this after 80 and 90-degree days. We'll see with this weather whiplash, but something to note that we will have the potential to see baseball, even tennis ball size hail over the next few days from Illinois to Nebraska. We'll be watching that closely for severe storms.
Goodness, I'm sure people are confused, if nothing else.
Yes, that's why we're here.
Angie Lassman, thank you.
We want to talk more about that toxic fire that's been burning for days in Indiana. This morning, the fire is finally out, according to the mayor of Richmond. But that town is still undergoing major environmental testing as questions mount about the site's past safety history. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch joins us now from Richmond, Indiana. So, Jesse, there have been some concerns raised here about some of the past citation history of the owner of the property in question here. What more do we know?
Yeah, so Valerie, we're trying to get some clarity on who, if anyone, was operating this facility at the time of the fire. The mayor of Richmond has pointed to a company that occupied this facility for years, saying that they were responsible for cleanup. They had been told to clean up, blaming that company. But records show that the city of Richmond actually took ownership of part of this property last year. So some people have suggested that the city should have been responsible for cleanup. And again, it's unclear if the company in question was operating at this facility at the time of the fire. So those are some outstanding questions, and there's finger pointing back and forth. But what appears to be the case is that there was a lot of plastic at this facility, which both allowed for an accelerant to be burning because you had all that plastic there and got in the way of firefighters' response. The fire chief yesterday telling me that they had this access road that would go into the property that was blocked with these bales of plastic, as well as semi-tractor trailers that had to be towed out of there to give firefighters more access to this facility to fight the fire. We're talking about a roughly 14-acre facility, we're told, and officials say that there were 6 buildings at this facility, all of them packed floor to ceiling with plastic. So again, there's this question out there of who is responsible for cleaning up that plastic and how that might have factored into this fire.
As you said, a lot of finger pointing. And Jesse, we heard from some people who live in that community regarding the evacuation order. We want to take a listen to what they had to say.
I decided to stay. I thought, where am I going to go? There's no place to go. I have nobody.
I can't afford to leave my house and for my house to be broke into because they advertise that we're empty.
I've been here since I was 5 years old. I'm not leaving the house.
So as we've heard, some of these people are staying put for various reasons, but what are some of the environmental concerns here that prompted the evacuation order in the first place?
Yeah, so there's this concern over what's been emanating into the air. And even with the fire fully extinguished, according to officials, they say that we're still looking at the possibility of smoke, soot, and the smell of burning plastic permeating the air in this community for days to come. There's still an evacuation order in effect for a half-mile radius around Ground Zero, and even beyond that, people are being asked to shelter in place, and schools in this community have been closed yet again for today. So there's that concern of what might be in the air, what might be in the water. But thankfully, because the fire is out, the city says that it can now focus on the air and water testing, which will help them determine when they can lift that evacuation order to tell people that it is safe to go back to their homes. We're waiting for results. We're hoping to get more of them possibly as early as today, which should give us a better indication, we hope, as to what possible health concerns there are in this community.
Okay, a lot still to come. Jesse Kirsch, thanks so much.
And the suspect accused of murdering Cash App founder Bob Lee will be arraigned in a San Francisco court today. The tech executive was stabbed last week and died later at the hospital. Yesterday, police arrested the suspect, 38-year-old Rahima Ellis of Emeryville. NBC News national correspondent Miguel Almaguer joins us now from San Francisco with the latest. So, Miguel, first, can you just walk us through what we know about this suspect and his relationship to Bob Lee?
Well, so far, police are being fairly tight-lipped. We expect to learn new information during the court proceeding, which is expected to happen in just a few hours here in San Francisco. Investigators say they don't want to reveal too much information to compromise their investigation. What we do know is that the suspect and the victim were acquaintances. What we don't know is exactly how well they knew each other and what they were doing together the night of the murder. Here's what the police chief told me just yesterday.
Confirm that Mr. Lee and Mr. Momeni knew each other. However, we will not be able to provide further details at this time regarding the evidence that confirms that information.
The specific charges that we are filing today include murder, in violation of Penal Code Section 187, as well as a special allegation, also known as an enhancement, alleging that this murder was committed with a knife.
Now, I spoke to both the district attorney and the police chief yesterday, off camera and on camera one-on-one, and they say they simply don't want to reveal too much information. But of course, during today's court proceedings, in order to keep the suspect held without bond, they'll have to release more information and what their case entails. So we should have more details later on today.
Miguel, I know you mentioned you've been in conversation with the DA's office. I know they also criticized Tesla CEO Elon Musk over a tweet he put out following Lee's death. What exactly is going on there?
Yeah, so San Francisco has been in the spotlight over the last several years because of its crime issues here. And while the trends show that violent crimes are only slightly up over the last year or so, after a pretty low, historic low a few years ago, there's been a lot of issues about San Francisco because of the very visual homeless and even drug problem that remains in this city now. Elon Musk, as you mentioned, did tweet after this murder that San Francisco was essentially a crime-ridden city where folks are where there's lawlessness across this. Now, that's the tweet you see on your screen there. Now, the DA said she was tagged in that tweet, and she had a direct response to Musk yesterday.
A lot of eyes on San Francisco as they battle a lot of different crises, including this. Miguel, thank you so much.
Turning now to a major settlement involving the police officer who killed George Floyd. The city of Minneapolis has reached a settlement of almost $9 million in 2 civil lawsuits that accuse former police officer Derek Chauvin of police misconduct. The plaintiffs, John Pope and Zoya Code, who are both black, allege Chauvin used excessive force in 2 incidents that took place nearly 3 years before he killed George Floyd. The total of the deal reached is $8.8 million. Pope is set to receive $7.5 million, and Code will get $1.3 million. In 2020, Chauvin was sentenced to more than 20 years in prison for Floyd's murder. To Washington now, where Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is expected to return to the Capitol building for the first time since he fell at a fundraiser back in March. NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now from Capitol Hill with the latest. Good morning, Julie. So what do we know about Senator McConnell's return?
Yeah, good morning to you both. McConnell will be back in this building on Monday, giving a speech on the Senate floor like usual, something he hasn't done since March 8th when he suffered that fall. Look, it's been a long time of recovery for the 81-year-old. He was in inpatient care after he was discharged from the hospital after suffering a fall and hitting his head. He also had a broken rib, so it took some time for him to recover, and he's finally going to be back on Monday. He tweeted yesterday saying, quote, "I am looking forward to returning to the Senate on Monday. We've got important business to tackle and big fights to win for Kentuckians and the American people." Now, notably, he's been silent on big news concerning former President Trump, but not silent on other matters concerning his state of Kentucky. But this will be the first time that the Republican leader will return to this building, and his conference is surely looking for his guidance as he's been out for a long time, including for the last 2 weeks for the Senate recess. So back on Monday as the whole Senate returns too.
And Julie, while we have you, what about Senators Fetterman and Feinstein, who are also currently on medical leave?
Yeah, well, look, McConnell's not alone in returning on Monday because Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman is also coming back on Monday after being admitted to the hospital in mid-February. He was feeling lightheaded, and he ended up being admitting himself, actually, for clinical depression that he was suffering after all of the medical trauma that he's gone through in the last year. He's coming back on Monday. He's even chairing a subcommittee hearing next week, which will be the first time we see him do that. But for Senator Feinstein, who you see on your screen there, she's been absent due to a case of shingles. She said in a statement she was due to come back at the end of March. There's been a lot of back and forth, some heat from Democrats in her own party, including in her own delegation in California, saying that the senator should just retire, but she has no plans to do that so far. Instead, what we're going to see next week is a critical battle to potentially temporarily fill her spot on the all-important Senate Judiciary Committee, something we're not sure Republicans are going to let Democrats do easily, but something Senate Majority Leader Schumer is surely looking to kick off as the Senate comes back on Monday.
Okay, Julie Sirkin from Capitol Hill, thanks so much. Turning now to travel, the weather is heating up across the country, and it has many people now looking to book their summer vacation getaway.
Of course, this comes as the CEO of Delta is predicting a record travel season.
NBC News correspondent Tom Costello joins us now from Reagan National Airport with more. Tom, good morning. How are things where you are, and what can travelers expect this summer?
We've already had a very busy day here at Reagan Airport. The TSA pre-check lines have been longer than the actual regular check-in lines, and that's really interesting. TSA says they are screening on average 2 to 2.5 million people a day. That's back to 2019 pre-pandemic levels, and you're right. The Delta Airlines chief saying that already summer bookings are at a record, and there's one estimate that global tourism will be up 30% this summer over 2019 levels. It's going to be very, very busy. Now, you may recall that a year ago, we had a very difficult summer, right? We had a lot of people stuck and not going anywhere fast. The airlines didn't have enough people, didn't have enough pilots. In fact, about a quarter of all flights last summer were delayed at least an hour. About 2.5% were canceled. So this year, the airlines say, yeah, they got to up their game. They got to do better. The average airfare is going to be about $328 right now for summer domestic travel, $328. About $528 if you want to go to Mexico, and then $1,100 if you're going to Europe. That's round trip, up 30%, by the way, going to Europe. So very, very expensive. All right, top destinations in the United States. No surprise. Number one is, in fact, the Big Apple, followed by, no surprise, Vegas, followed by Orlando, and then followed by Washington, D.C., you guys. Back to you.
We love D.C. and we love Reagan Airport, too. So, Tom, I know you mentioned some of the backlogs. The FAA has also said that they're short air traffic controllers, and they're asking airlines to actually cut back on flights. So what can you tell us about that? How might that impact summer travel?
No, absolutely. There's a shortage of air traffic controllers, especially in New York City. And as a result, the FAA asking airlines trim their schedules. Several have now done that. So that means you're going to have fewer flights into and out of the Big Apple come this summer. That means, of course, if you have fewer seats, fewer flights, then you're going to have higher fares, right? So that's going to be a problem if you go into and out of the New York City area this summer. Keep that in mind. LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK. And also, as we always say every year, it's always about the weather, right? The summertime storms can create this ripple rolling effect across the whole country. A bad storm in Dallas, a bad storm in New York can send air traffic across the entire eastern half of the country into disarray. So keep that in mind. Travel early, leave early if you can. That always helps. That way you hopefully beat the storms.
All right, Tom Costello, thanks so much for the updates.
Thank you. And coming up, more protests in France today over the proposal to raise the retirement age for thousands of workers.
But a ruling today could put an end to them. We're in Paris with the latest on negotiations next.
In France, the government's controversial pension reform proposal, which includes raising the retirement age from 62 to 64, faces a key test today.
The country's constitutional council is set to deliver its verdict on the reforms. This comes a day after police clashed with protesters in Paris, the 12th day of nationwide strikes that have paralyzed public services. NBC News correspondent Ali Arouzi joins us now from Paris. Ali, walk us through exactly what the constitutional council will be deciding today, and who are they?
Hi there. Well, the Constitutional Council is the highest constitutional authority in France. It's got 11 members on the council, and it was set up in 1958 to make sure constitutional principles and rules were upheld. The presidency is currently held by former Prime Minister Laurent Fabius, and all the fate of this pension reform lies in the hands of that Constitutional Council that is sitting in that building behind me right now. And there is a massive police presence around it because this is the heart of the decision that's being made in France. So all around me right now, there's police. They snake around all across the building, and they've got policemen up on the roof as well to make sure there isn't much trouble today.
And Ali, as we mentioned, this ruling comes after protesters clashed with riot police in Paris just yesterday. Of course, this is just the latest in a series of clashes that have been going on in the country. What's the mood like this morning?
Well, it's a very tense mood here. I mean, everybody is waiting with abated breath to see what the decision of this council is going to be. You know, the country has been at a standstill for months now over this issue, so everybody is very keen to see what happens. But there is an anticipation that there'll be more protests tonight and tomorrow in the weekend if the council favor Macron's decisions, because people hold the social welfare system here very dear, and they want to protect it at all costs. I mean, you look around the city here and there's graffiti all over the walls against Macron, saying death to fascists, a lot of derogatory slogans against the police. So the mood and the tensions are still very high here. I mean, the protests have by and large been very peaceful, but the mood is still very tense as this all hangs in the balance.
And Ali, as you mentioned, the possible implications are that there could be more protests. Could we see those intensify if the council greenlights the government's plans?
Well, it all depends on the decision of the council tonight. I mean, there are a few different scenarios that could play out. They could completely strike down Macron's proposals, which is highly unlikely, or they could adopt his proposals with some caveats, which would work in favor of Mr. Macron, because it wouldn't be an all-out victory for him, and it would allow him to negotiate some of the less contentious parts of that reform with the opposition while pushing through the main body of it. But there's always drama here, and in the 11th hour last night, one of the left-wing parties introduced a new motion asking the government to tell people how they're going to finance this pension reform, and more importantly, calling for a referendum. So the council that's sitting in that building behind me now have to decide whether to put this to a referendum. That could take weeks. So this issue is not going to get sorted out tonight and is likely to go on for months to come.
Okay, we know you'll keep us posted on what's happening there. Ali, thanks so much.
More international news now. China is denying claims it's imposing a no-fly zone north of Taiwan this weekend.
NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome for this and more world news. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, Zinkley and Valerie. Yes, China is now denying that it will impose a no-fly zone over North Taiwan, despite the fact that Taipei said that it was told by China it will do so. Now, we're also seeing ongoing military activity between those two countries. Fighter pilots in Taiwan were on guard as China performed military exercises in the area. The president of Taiwan shared some of her thoughts in a thank you message to this team, saying, quote, "As long as we are united, we can reassure the country's people and let the world see our determination to protect the nation." Now let's jump to Russia, where a volcanic eruption is causing some trouble for both the country and its neighbors. One of the area's most active volcanoes went off earlier this week. Now ash is covering nearby homes and entire towns, and it's affecting even Alaska, where over 24 flights were cancelled because of an ash cloud drifting into its airspace. Alaskan Airlines is encouraging travelers to keep an eye on their flight status, as more cancellations might be coming. Now we end back here in my corner of the world, here in Italy, where Italians are putting their own spin on, guess what? American food. The restaurant is called Old Wild West, where visitors can come and get an authentic American experience. You can order anything from an Arizona salad to burgers and barbecue. Some are even calling it a reverse Olive Garden. Now, guys, this is lunchtime here. I'm getting hungry. There's no Old Wild West around here, but there is the old, not so wild Italian restaurant, so I may just settle on that one.
I mean, hey, but do you have the Olive Garden bread, the endless flow of bread, Claudio? That's what we really love. Thank you so much.
Coming up, back on the field. After the break, the emotional comeback for a high school baseball star more than a year after he was injured in a Christmas parade attack.
And inspiring inclusivity, how some classrooms are working to better accommodate the deaf and hard of hearing. This is Morning News Now. One Wisconsin high school baseball star has defied the odds. Eric Tegan was seriously injured when he was struck during the Waukesha Christmas parade attack in 2021. But as NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster shows us, making a comeback has become a routine play for the team.
Now batting for the black shirts, senior center fielder number 4, Eric Tegan.
This trip to the plate is something close to a miracle for high school baseball star Eric Tegan.
He's running good.
Got his first hit.
Especially after November 2021.
What do you remember from that day?
I remember going to the parade, and then it just felt like I got shoved from behind.
That shove was the force of a red SUV hitting Eric, barreling through his marching band at the annual Waukesha Christmas Parade. The attack killed 6 and injured 62 others. Eric's broken femur was only the beginning.
I had broken ribs on my left side, and then the scapula was broken, and then I had a C4 fracture, and then I had a concussion.
He spent 3 days in the ICU, later bound to a wheelchair, injuries that threatened his college baseball dreams.
I thought college was gone. Yeah, I did for sure.
But from his first steps to a stiff throw, Eric made it back in just 4 months, at least partially.
You're not as strong as you used to be, so it's like tough mentally.
You could tell he's hurting and limping and struggling through it, but that was, his pain he was fighting through to get back to where he was.
Doctors only cleared Eric to pitch, so he took the mound, catching the attention of college scouts.
And let's be clear here, I mean, you were limping, but you were still pitching,
Yeah.
and that's when you got recruited.
Yeah.
You were pretty good. Is it true? Would you call yourself pretty good?
Yeah, I would say.
His friend Tyler Pudliner, who was marching next to Eric at the parade, was behind the plate for his first pitch.
Didn't end in our favor, the scoreboard-wise, but at the same time, it's about going out there and having fun.
This spring, Eric is a team captain and back to full strength, starting his senior year with a win.
How did it feel, man?
It felt great being out there, and that was a great win by the whole team.
And next year, he'll play at Wisconsin's Beloit College.
Will you ever take seeing him out there for granted?
No.
Oh, no, never.
No.
No. Every catch, every at-bat. Yep.
Yeah, but Eric's message is like, you want to do it, you may have to fight for it, but you can do it.
Living the mantra still proudly displayed across the Wisconsin town.
Being out on that field, is that Waukesha strong for you?
Yeah, it just shows that nothing can stop us. We're strong.
Our thanks to Shaquille Brewster for that report. And Eric's mother also tells Shaq that despite the hurdles, Eric never lost his sense of humor or book smarts. Eric is set to graduate with a GPA of 4.17.
Tomorrow is American Sign Language Day. People who are deaf or hard of hearing are often left out of the hearing world. But as NBC's Rahima Ellis found out, change is coming, and her report contains sign language throughout.
This classroom in Connecticut is silent. These students are all deaf or hard of hearing, communicating using American Sign Language, or ASL.
You're late.
While more and more deaf actors are appearing in films, enhancing understanding of deaf culture, few people know how to sign. That makes life outside of this special Hartford school a challenge.
Many hearing people have the misconception that deaf people can't. We can do anything. The only thing that we don't have is hearing.
120 miles south in this New York City school, students are bridging the language gap. It's the city's only sign language school where hearing or hard of hearing students outnumber the deaf. Most classes are bilingual in English and ASL, but some classes, no spoken word at all, immersing students in deaf culture.
I feel happy that I'm here.
Before now, 14-year-old Sabrina Morales, who's hard of hearing, was in a mainstream school and says she felt isolated from hearing students.
I can just show who I really am.
Because you see yourself here.
Yes. I'm here because I want to have a better communication with my brother.
Shirley Piedra's brother Omar is fully deaf. She's learning to sign because, like most little sisters, she wants to be heard. Do you think it's made you and your brother even closer than you would have been otherwise?
Yeah, it made us a lot closer. Every time I sign to him, I see a smile on his face.
After high school, Shirley's planning on becoming an ASL interpreter.
For example, I'm going to the store.
So how would you sign that?
I go to store.
And she's already getting started.
I just feel like there should be a lot more interpreters out there for people like my brother.
A sign of what's to come. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
Coming up, good news for home buyers. Prices are finally cooling. What you need to know to get a good deal. Plus, money matters, stressing out a majority of Americans. What you can do to cope. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. The fallout from the pandemic turned the housing market on its head, both for sellers and buyers. Now it seems the recent cooling in home prices may be turning around.
And that's making it harder again for current home buyers who had gotten a bit more negotiating power in the fall and winter. Now they're watching mortgage rates more closely than ever.
CNBC's senior real estate correspondent Diana Olick joins us now from Washington to talk about all of this. Good morning, Diana. So first, given today's pricey housing market, good to see you. What is the highest mortgage rate most people today say they are actually willing to accept?
Okay, so for most buyers, the mortgage rate is basically what they can afford because you buy the house not based on the price, but on the monthly payment, and that payment is all about the rate. But a new study found a majority, 71% of buyers said the highest rate they would accept is 5.5%. That's apparently the tipping point. 62% of consumers said they believe a normal mortgage rate, guys, is below 5.5%.
So, Diana, how does this demand trend historically?
Well, today, the current mortgage rate is 6.4%, so a lot of folks are going to be disappointed. But the 30-year mortgage rate in the United States has averaged 7.75% from 1971 until 2023. It reached an all-time high of over 18% in 1981 and a record low of 2.65% in January of 2021, and that was the pandemic effect. I'll tell you, when I bought my first house, I got a 9% rate, and I thought that was fantastic at the time.
I'm sure. I mean, Diana, is the market finally in a better place for buyers and sellers? What's sort of the bottom line here?
The short answer is no. The problem is not necessarily the higher mortgage rates. People are getting used to that, but homes are still pricey. And the biggest issue right now is there is nothing for sale. There's a ton of demand out there. What goes on the market is very little right now. And you do see this supply sitting. If it's not well priced, it won't sell right now. So buyer demand is very strong. Sellers do not want to list their homes right now because, A, they don't want to have to take a lower home price, and B, they don't want to have to buy another pricier home at twice the mortgage rate that they already have.
Truly, we're at a tipping point. Diana Olick, thank you so much.
And sticking with financial news, airplane giant Boeing is expecting to see some shortages in the coming months.
So let's bring in CNBC's Silvana Hanau for this and more money news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. So Boeing is halting deliveries of some 37 MAX jets, and this is due to a new quality issue at one of its suppliers. Spirit Aerosystem makes the fuselage and wing components for the 737 MAX, and this issue is believed to date back to 2019. Boeing says it will likely affect a significant number of planes, both in production and in storage. Walmart is selling bonobos for $75 million. That's a fraction of what it paid for the menswear brand. Now, it's the latest sign that the retail giant is unwinding some of its e-commerce plays. Walmart is selling bonobos to Express and the management firm WHP Global, which owns 75% of Express and also owns Toys R Us, Anne Klein, Joe's Jeans, and other brands. It was part of a string of deals that Walmart made aimed at attracting wealthier shoppers. Twitter is increasing the tweet limit for paid users to 10,000 characters. That's up from the 4,000 character limit the social media platform expanded to just in February. Now, Twitter also supports bold and italics, allowing content creators to use those formats to break up potentially huge blocks of text. Twitter Blue is $8 a month for people who sign up through the web and $11 a month for those who sign up through iOS and Android devices. So there you have it. Always so much going on at Twitter.
Never a dull moment, and now we can talk about it with 10,000 characters.
Put things in bold.
Exactly.
The variety. Silvana, thank you so much.
Got it.
Staying with money, if you are feeling your finances are under pressure, you are not alone.
Yeah, there's a new CNBC survey that found that 70% of Americans say they're stressed about their personal finances, with 52% saying their financial stress has increased since the COVID-19 pandemic began.
Joining us now to discuss is financial therapist Erica Rosher. Erica, thank you for joining us this morning. So walk us through the study's findings. How bad a problem is this, and what caused it?
Well, good morning. Well, thank you so much for having me. It is a significant finding when over 70% of people are reporting that they're stressed. It is a big concern for everyone. We are looking at this perfect storm, right, of higher inflation, economic instability, and this lack of savings. And it's got people really, really feeling the stress.
And Erica, I know a big reason why some people are feeling this pressure is a lack of savings. Of course, savings are pretty important, but the survey actually found that only 45% of U.S. adults said they have an emergency fund. And for those who do have one, 26% of respondents say they have less than $5,000 saved. So can you just talk to us about why it's important to have this money put aside and what steps people can take to actually build their savings if they haven't already?
Absolutely. So when we're looking at an emergency fund, you think of an emergency fund as very basic in the sense of, if I need new tires on my car, or if, my kid has a major health incident that's not necessarily covered by health insurance, or we have something else that is, a lifestyle significant. If we don't have that money and we're stressed and we're living paycheck to paycheck, then what ends up happening is we end up moving to credit cards. And that is a dangerous place to be. The Federal Reserve of New York recently reported that credit card balances have surpassed $986 billion, which is a $61 billion increase from 21 to 22. That's a huge issue.
Erica, how can people cope with this financial stress? What are some things that they can do to ease those financial worries?
Yeah. So, what's interesting, as a financial therapist, especially at Beyond Finance, where I work with people who are in specifically a debt resolution program, I can see how effective it can be firsthand to know what is in your control and what isn't. We have a tendency to, generationally believe, hey, we take out debt and we're supposed to pay it off. And we have all of these emotions around us. Taking a look at your finances and making those edits, and seeing where you can do things on your own is a really great place to put things back in your control. But also what people don't understand is putting things back in your control means also seeking help when necessary, whether that is getting somebody to look at your debt for you or talking to a financial therapist or an accredited financial counselor.
And Erica, you talked about the importance of savings. I wonder, how much should we be saving? I've heard it said you need 3 months rent or 3 months to live. What do you say?
So I think the biggest thing we need to remember is that when we're dealing with our emotions and finance, you've got issues like financial literacy, which are, like the budgeting, investing, the savings part of it. But we forget that it's an inside job. So there's all this advice out there that says, save 10% or whatever it is. Do what you can, make those steps to save what you can and get in that habit first. The biggest, punchline to that is really, saving as many expenses as you can. Income is not necessarily as important as the bills you have to pay to financially survive, but it's being able to allow yourself to emotionally connect to yourself and, technically connect to your finances outside of that. That's where the magic happens.
Building those responsible habits. Important.
Such important advice. Erica Rosher, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And coming up, they're hard to avoid. Spoilers for some of our favorite shows showing up all over the internet almost as soon as they air.
We'll talk about the problem that's sparking outrage among TV buffs and what you can do to avoid them next on Morning News Now.
We're back with today's Good Talker. North America's largest music festival, Coachella, gets underway today with a couple of last-minute surprises added to the lineup. A set from rock band Blink-182 was snuck onto the list for Friday. The original trio reunited last fall after an 8-year hiatus. Electro musician James Blake is another last-minute addition, and headliners for the festival also include Frank Ocean, Blackpink, and, of course, Bad Bunny. The two-day festival is scheduled for April 14th through April 16th and April 21st through the 23rd. But if you don't have a ticket, it's also being live streamed on YouTube. And I have never been to Coachella, so maybe I should stream this year.
Neither have I. I would like to catch Blink-182 and
Why not?
Throwback music. Why not?
A little Bad Bunny. Yeah.
Finally, this hour, it has been a week where many of us had our TV viewing spoiled by a big spoiler.
Yeah, fans of HBO's hit show Succession took to social media to complain about it after a major plotline in the show's final season flooded news feeds just moments after the episode aired. Many wondered what happened to grace periods or spoiler consideration for those who didn't watch the show live or who live in different time zones.
Chris Witherspoon, CEO and founder of Pop Viewers and NBC News entertainment contributor, joins us now. Good morning, Chris. So without ruining it for anyone who still hasn't heard the big news, this week's major Succession spoiler was aided not just by the internet, but also a fictional article in the LA Times about one of the characters. A few years ago, some major news outlets also spoiled a death in Sex and the City spinoff, and just like that, after a character's interaction with a Peloton bike impacted the fitness company's actual stock. So are spoilers getting harder to avoid?
I mean, listen, this spoiler for Succession blew my mind. I was not expecting it. The way that it rolled out with, as you mentioned, the LA Times, other major media publications was very surprising and very shocking. And I think what's really important to note is that HBO and many major networks and studios, they work with entertainment editors at these big publications. And I think it's important to stress embargo, embargo, embargo. You know, really plan when this rollout will happen. I oftentimes get access to early screeners of shows and films, and I make sure when I talk about them, I don't reveal any major plot twists or plot lines or surprises for fans. So it's really shocking. And I think it really comes down to the editors at these publications, because this wasn't just fan fodder. These were editors and major media outlets reporting on this major death. Sometimes, or in this case, it was before the LA watch even happened. So that never really happens.
Sounds like you definitely follow etiquette when it comes to not spoiling things. But I wonder, generally, how has internet culture, streaming, and social media changed the way that we watch both episodic TV shows as well as major live events?
Well, I think it's for fans now. You have to really make sure that you unplug from social media, that you put up browser blockers, on your outlets or on your platforms. And then also, I think just tell your friends, don't tell me about what happened. I'm going to watch, 3 days from now, 4 days from now. I make it a point that I log out. I didn't watch Succession until 2 days ago, the most recent episode, but I made sure I avoided Twitter. I avoided social media. And it was really a huge surprise for me.
Krista, do you just have to shut in, throw out your cell phone? Like, is that what we're at the point of?
I think at this point, you have to just literally log off, don't go on social media. And I think for this case, maybe not check out some of your favorite media outlets, because again, this was on major media outlets. The headline, you talk about the LA Times. The LA Times put out a mock obituary of this person's death. So maybe even avoid some of your favorite entertainment sections on major media outlets.
But not at NBC News Now, because we would never do such a horrible thing to viewers.
NBC News Now.
Chris Witherspoon, thanks so much.
Thank you. And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now. Good morning. I'm Valerie Castro.
And I'm Zinklea Samwa. Joe and Savannah are on assignment. Right now on Morning News Now, airmen arrest. This video showing the moment a National Guardsman was taken into custody, now suspected of leaking hundreds of pages of classified documents in an online chat room.
This is very dangerous. When you hear stories like this of someone who's doing this for aggrandizement for the purposes of promoting themselves, especially with just kids and are looking this almost as a game itself.
The revelation sent U.S. intelligence scrambling for answers. This morning, what we've now learned about the 21-year-old at the center of the leak investigation as he prepares to make his first appearance in federal court today. Abortion battle breaking overnight. Florida becomes the latest state to pass a highly restrictive abortion law. Despite protests against it, the new law would ban abortion after 6 weeks. We're live with the fallout from the decision that's turned Florida into one of the most restrictive states for abortion access in the country. Toxic threat? Overnight, firefighters were finally able to put out that massive industrial fire in Indiana. The flames and toxic smoke had forced more than 1,500 people out of their homes, shuttered schools, and turned a massive plastics facility into ash. This morning, while the flames may be out, the danger may not be over. And can't miss list. It's finally Friday, and if you're looking to kick back and relax, we have the perfect recommendations. From Dracula to the Mafia, we've got everything you need to be on the lookout for. And after this week, I know I'm ready.
Me too. So much to catch up on.
Indeed, and we thank you for being with us this week. We begin this morning with the arrest of a 21-year-old member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard, suspected of leaking hundreds of pages of classified military intelligence.
This morning, there are growing calls for answers about how this happened. Chief White House correspondent Kristen Welker has the latest on all of this.
In just hours, 21-year-old Jack Teixeira will appear in a federal court in Boston as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are demanding to know how this could have happened and what's being done to make sure it never does again.
This morning, the fallout intensifying after the dramatic arrest of 21-year-old Jack Teixeira at his home in Massachusetts. With guns drawn, heavily armed federal agents took the Air National Guardsman into custody Thursday afternoon. The government has accused Teixeira of leaking hundreds of classified documents from the Pentagon.
The Justice Department arrested Jack Douglas Teixeira in connection with an investigation into alleged unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information.
Teixeira, who was recently promoted to Airman First Class, worked in IT in the intelligence wing. The Washington Post was first to report he shared classified intelligence under the screen name of OG. It all unfolded on a gaming platform called Discord, popular with young male video gamers and gun enthusiasts. The Post describes the suspected leaker as searching for companionship amid the isolation of the pandemic and spoke with an anonymous member of the chat room.
I don't think that there was a goal nor some sort of accomplishment that he was looking for in sharing these documents. Of course, there's some anti-government sentiment.
President Biden weighed in from Ireland in the hours before the arrest.
I'm not concerned about the leakages, and I'm concerned that it happened. But there is nothing contemporaneous that I'm aware of that is of great consequence.
It caps a frenzied week in which the leaked documents set off alarms across the globe. Among the most damning reported revelations, the war in Ukraine could last well into next year, and the Pentagon has doubts about Ukraine's strength heading into this next phase. Also among the chief concerns, the leak exposing how the U.S. gathers intelligence abroad and the potential damage that may cause. Now, outraged lawmakers are vowing to investigate.
If this stuff is authentic, it could actually change the dynamics on the battlefield.
How that this type of information could be out and not be found is inexcusable.
The administration is also scrambling to reassure key allies, including Poland. We pressed the prime minister.
It is unfortunate, of course, but these things unfortunately happen.
Can Poland trust the U.S. intelligence community?
Yes.
Now, Merrick Garland seemed to signal that Teixeira could be charged under the Espionage Act. At minimum, it could carry a sentence of 10 years in jail per document. If you do the math, that's a possibility of hundreds of years behind bars if he's convicted. Back to you.
Kristen, thanks so much.
And new this morning, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill late last night. It's one of the strictest laws in the country, banning most abortions in the state after 6 weeks. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has more.
Hey, good morning. Florida had been one of the last places a woman could go for an abortion in the South. Now that state has one of the most restrictive laws on the books. Overnight, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill that would ban most abortions after 6 weeks. DeSantis quietly signing the law just after 11 p.m., posting only this photo on Twitter. A stark contrast to how he publicly celebrated a 15-week ban last spring.
We are here today to defend those who can't defend themselves.
Unless blocked in the court, the move will shut off access in a state that saw a 60% increase in women seeking abortion since Roe was overturned. Known as the Heartbeat Protection Act, it does make an exception for abortions up to 15 weeks in cases of rape, incest, or human trafficking.
Have all members voted?
Anger erupting in the Florida House during debate over the bill. Protests and chaos before the Republican-dominated legislature passed it.
This is all just circus politics meant to divide us.
Democrats and critics slamming the law as extreme, with the White House saying it is out of step with the views of the vast majority of the people of Florida and of all the United States. All this as the issue of abortion is taking center stage in the 2024 campaign, with presidential hopefuls pressed on their positions.
The 15-week threshold is something that I believe that is a place where you find a national limit that says no more. States can do less.
And I think if we're looking at 15 weeks, what we need to understand is we are not okay with abortion up until the time of birth.
Meanwhile, a high-stakes showdown will soon reach the Supreme Court over a widely used abortion pill. A federal appeals court has blocked a Texas ruling that invalidated the approval of mifepristone, but rolled back several moves from the FDA to make the drug easier to obtain. Attorney General Merrick Garland saying the Justice Department strongly disagrees with the Fifth Circuit's decision and will soon take the case to the nation's highest court. As for Florida, we know this ban will not go into effect right away. The current existing abortion law, that's caught up in legal wrangling, and that has to get settled before this latest ban can go into effect. Back to you.
Laura, thank you.
The toxic industrial fire that's been burning in Indiana is finally out, according to the mayor of Richmond. But that town is still battling environmental concerns as questions mount about the site's past safety history. Jesse Kirsch joins us now from Richmond, Indiana. Jesse, officials there say the site has a history of citations and has been a potential safety hazard in the community for a while now. So what else can you tell us, and how is the owner of the site responding?
Yeah, so the owner of the facility, or the owner of a business, I should say, tied to the facility, as well as an attorney for that business, have not returned a request for comment, have not responded to that request for comment. But it's unclear if the business that the center of this was operating at this facility when the fire broke out. The mayor of the city of Richmond has blamed that business, which occupied the facility for years. But again, we don't know if they were operating there at the time of the fire. Further, records show that the city actually purchased part, or I shouldn't say purchased, took ownership of part of this facility last year. And so there's the suggestion that possibly the city should have been responsible for cleanup at this site before the fire broke out. And what we've heard from officials, and you're seeing the images there, is that this was a roughly 14-acre facility where we're told there were 6 buildings, each of them packed floor to ceiling with plastic, something that catches fire and continues to burn. So it's something that is an accelerant. That's what we heard from the fire chief. So that's something to keep in mind. There is this question of who is responsible for cleaning up all of this material. And that is an outstanding issue, something we certainly still have questions on, Valerie.
And we know that the fire is finally out, but there are still concerns over the air and water pollution. We can see you're wearing a mask for your protection. Tell us what the latest is there.
Yeah, and for context, we're actually further back today than we were yesterday because we went to go back to that site this morning, and members of our team that arrived first smelled, say they even tasted and saw what appeared to be debris from this site in a space where we were comfortable yesterday. So it just gives you a sense of the fluidity of the situation. And officials have said, even with the fire fully extinguished, where they say it was ahead of schedule, they still expect smoke, soot, and the smell of burning plastic to circulate through this community for days to come. And the evacuation order for a half-mile radius around Ground Zero is still in effect here. There's also still that shelter-in-place recommendation. And as you mentioned, there was advice from officials to have people wearing masks in this community as well. So those concerns remain outstanding. However, because the fire is now fully extinguished, the city says that it can focus on air and water testing, which will help them determine when the evacuation order can be lifted. But for the time being, schools remain closed in this community, and that evacuation order is still in effect here, Valerie.
And Jesse, as you mentioned, schools are closed now for a 3rd day. Is there any word on when life might get back to normal there?
Yeah, so again, we're still waiting for more testing results at this point. We are expecting possibly to get more air data released from officials today. So we're trying to learn, I should say, from the people who are trying to figure out what is in the air, if anything, hazardous or dangerous for people in the community. So obviously that's something you want to know about before you're going to be telling people to be coming back to their homes. And there's the questions about the water as well. So those issues are outstanding. We're still waiting for more data, but they haven't given us a timetable. All we know is that things are moving in the right direction right now because they can focus on that air and water testing more fully, it sounds like, now that the fire is fully extinguished.
Okay, still a lot of concerns there, but we know you'll keep us posted. Jesse Kirsch, thanks so much.
And southern Florida is facing the daunting task of cleaning up from devastating flooding this morning. Severe storms dumped record rainfall on the area over the past 2 days. Fort Lauderdale saw the rainiest day in its history on Wednesday, almost 26 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. And more rain yesterday caused even more flooding. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us now from Fort Lauderdale with the latest. Good morning, Sam. So first, how are things looking where you are this morning after so many more rounds of rain just yesterday?
Yeah, Zinkley, I know you're looking at these images. They're surreal, right? This nightmare continues for neighborhoods in and around Fort Lauderdale. I'm in Melrose Manors. This is a couple of miles away from the airport. Over my shoulder, all the streets down here look like this. Now, the water is not as high as it was 24 hours ago, but that's still a couple feet of water, even more in deeper spots right now, 36 hours out from this event. And to give you some context here, Zinkley, typically Fort Lauderdale this month, April, dry season, gets 3 inches of rain a month. 25 years ago, they actually got 20 inches of rain. Okay, now you're talking about 26 inches of rain in a 7-hour period. The reason I'm inching over here, this car right here, I just spoke with the renter. It's a gentleman, Stephen, from Ireland, with his wife. Their young child, Seamus, was in the back seat here. There's a baby seat in there. And he was driving. This was on Wednesday, and just told me that in the middle of this happening, the water level got to right about here, just underneath where the wheel well is, and decided if I can't get this car open then, I don't know where I'm going to go. So he calls 911. They say, get out at that moment. He's one of 900 people that called emergency services. And luckily, and I'm hearing stories about this left and right, people come and see him struggling and help Stephen to get his son, Seamus, out of the car and get his wife out of harm's way, and then they drive away. So just the amount of participation and help and good Samaritans that are really just looking out for one another here really gives you a heartening feeling, knowing that they've been through so much already. I want to show you one other thing. Walk this direction for a second. So this is sort of a frontage road off the main highway. What you'll see is there are some cars that are still sort of making their way through navigating. But to the right of that, one vehicle got caught in the floodwaters and is now in a dip in the land. That is probably 3 or 4 feet of water at least surrounding that SUV. And this is what the scene looked like 24 hours ago, just cars littering the neighborhood like that. Some folks had the foresight to get their vehicles up above. Just to the right, you'll see there's a whole bunch of cars that are parked on the main highway because they're at elevation. But the biggest problem down here is that everything is ground level or below sea level, I should say, below sea level. So the water is nowhere to drain. Gravity cannot take effect. It's just sitting here pooled. And the next big question for the 600 folks who have been displaced so far is, when will this all clear out? Zinkley?
I mean, Sam, the images are mind-boggling. The stories of the people you're speaking with are wild. I know you said 26 inches of rain in just 7 hours. Obviously, the city is facing an extensive cleanup process. How exactly are they going about mitigating all of that flood water? And is there any timeline for when people can actually return to their homes? I know you mentioned around 600 people right now where you are.
Yes, that's correct. And by the way, some of them are still living there right now, which I'm not sure how that's possible, because we've spoken with quite a few people who said there's 2 feet of water at the high point inside of their home. And I'm watching cars come in and out. So some folks are still trying to tough this out, even though there's been a foot or more of water inside of their homes. So that continues to be an issue. But as far as like timeline moving forward, it was starting to recede. There were 2 to 3 more inches of rain last night after that dump of 26 inches. It kind of set everything back. So the mayor of Fort Lauderdale is set to make an address sometime in the next couple of hours to explain what this process is going to look like for those families that have been displaced. Meantime, others right now are kind of living in danger in places where they're still waterlogged, and they really shouldn't be inside those homes.
I mean, the dangers are very real, very palpable, Sam. I know that it was also Fort Lauderdale Airport that remained closed overnight. The runways really look more like a lake at one point, similar to the area you're in, with the roads leaving a lot of travelers stranded. So what is the latest on flight operations there this morning?
Good news. It's going to open at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard, right? So within the next hour or so, operations will resume at FLL. But in the process, 230 plus flights were canceled today, 600 yesterday, another couple hundred the day before that. So you're looking at 1,000 plus flights that were canceled as a result of historic rainfall. But at least for those travelers who have been just sitting around and waiting, trying to at least start the process of getting out of South Florida, that will begin within the next hour or so. So good news on that front, Zinkley.
I'm sure very welcome good news. Sam, best to you and your crew as you're out there. Thank you so much.
And for more on those travel headaches caused by all of this, we're now joined by Haley Berg. She's the lead economist for Hopper. Haley, good morning. We know the Fort Lauderdale, South Florida region is a very popular destination for tourists. So talk to us about the impact this extreme weather is having on spring breakers and other people there on vacation this week.
Fort Lauderdale is always a popular destination in the spring, but keep in mind, we're also coming off of Easter and Passover weekend on top of spring break. So there were thousands of families flying into or out of Fort Lauderdale. Just yesterday, with the closure, 64,000 passengers were stranded at Fort Lauderdale Airport. And we expect there aren't going to be more flights scheduled the next couple of days. So those travelers may have some challenges getting home.
If you're one of those 64,000 people, you're in Florida stuck in this mess, what should you do if your flight is delayed or canceled? What tips can you share with us?
If your flight was canceled, the best option right now is to check out alternate airports. You aren't that far from Miami and Palm Beach. It will cost you about $300 to $400 for a one-way ticket home to your destination if that's where you're headed. But for families who need to get home, back to work, school, whatever it is, that might be the only option. Or if you can, use your airline's app, a self-serve kiosk at the airport, and see if you can make changes. Many airlines have removed change and cancellation fees. So if you can change your flight to a different date that does work for you, that does have availability, it may speed up your process of getting home.
And Haley, looking ahead to the summer, the CEO of Delta is predicting a, quote, record for travel this season. Meanwhile, the FAA is warning we may see another summer of delays. So what's the best way to prepare for potential travel disruptions before you even get to the airport?
My number one tip is take the first flight of the day if possible. You are 2 times more likely to be delayed or canceled after 8 or 9 a.m. alone. So if you can take one of those early morning flights, it just reduces the potential for disruption. Always sign up for alerts from your airline so you're getting real-time information. Sometimes you'll get updates via an app before you get updates at your gate. But the most important thing is add a flight disruption product. We see about 20% of customers who are flying out of the U.S. adding that on the Hopper app. So if they are disrupted, like these passengers in Fort Lauderdale, they can just rebook for free on the app on the next available flight, no matter the airline. So consider protection options like that. But just flying in the morning and having the information in your hand as soon as it comes in can be a huge help and also a little bit of a relief.
Okay, a lot of good tips to keep in mind. Haley, thanks so much. And keeping up with weather, let's get a check at your Morning News Now weather forecast for what to expect this weekend.
Meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now. Good morning, Angie.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a drier start for folks in South Florida. Welcome dry air starting to work in, but we'll still have a chance to see maybe a couple of thunderstorms through the day today. We'll keep an eye on that. As we zoom up and out, though, we do have some unsettled weather elsewhere. Most of it is draped across the southeast. That low pressure system that we were tracking for the past couple of days finally made its way onshore, now moving through parts of really Alabama and Louisiana and into Mississippi as well, and bringing rain to parts of the Carolinas. We're already starting off the morning with some thunderstorms there, so it'll be a bit of a soggy start for folks in that area. Now, meanwhile, we are running well above average across much of the country, mainly the northeastern half of the country. So we have anywhere from 5 to 25 degrees above normal for most folks in that region, and 113 million people are going to see highs today that are 15 degrees higher than normal or up to 25 degrees higher than normal. This is really just some uncomfortable air in place for this time of year. Notice where we're going to be talking about record highs today. New York, we could see places like Syracuse, Flint, Saginaw, Green Bay. All of these locations have the chance to break some of those record highs. So what are the actual numbers that you'll be seeing in your area later this afternoon? Well, if you're in St. Louis, 81 degrees. If you're in Minneapolis, we'll end up at 82 degrees, 87 for Syracuse. In Philly, you'll hit the mid-80s this afternoon. It's going to be a little warm, and we could potentially see some records in a lot of those places. Scranton, 91 is where you're headed, and that blows past the current record, I should say, into the mid-80s. New York likely could set another record today. We broke a record yesterday in Central Park when we hit 90 degrees. That previous record was set back in the 1970s. So it shows you just how much warm air is in place. Don't get too used to it because there is a change coming. It won't be abrupt. We'll still get through tomorrow with some nice conditions. We'll be back down to the 60s, so not quite summer-like, but still warmer than normal, coming in 5 to 10 degrees above normal along the East Coast. Places like Detroit will still be around 80 degrees and talking 20 degrees above normal, but that doesn't last for long. A big temperature swing is going to come from Sunday into Monday. We're going from the high 70s there to the upper 40s on Monday, so it's going to be a little abrupt. We have a system that's working through. We could see some rain, some snow for parts of that area. We'll get to that in a moment, but it'll be finally back to more spring-like conditions if that is your cup of tea. There's the system that I talked about. Here it is, draped across parts of really the plains, stretching from the northern plains down to the south. That's where we're going to watch for the potential for some strong to even severe storms. We'll see heavy rain. We'll also see some snow. Watch what happens as we get into parts of Sunday and into the early parts of next week. We could see some of this snow for places like Minneapolis, which just seems like weather whiplash at this point. We're going to be watching for these storm hazards to give us the potential for some hail greater than than 2 inches. Just to give you guys some perspective, that means baseball size. So this is going to be something to watch. Concordia, Wichita, Cherokee, all involved in this. And as we get into tomorrow, 13 million people will have another chance to see some of that severe weather. And again, tennis ball size hail possible. So we'll be watching for Texarkana, places like that to have that potential impact.
And people should really prepare for those storms.
For sure.
Oh, back to reality. Angie Glassman, thank you so much. And now magic is in the air, specifically in the nation's capital this morning as a group of investors near a $6 billion deal to buy the Washington Commanders football team. And one of those includes NBA legend Magic Johnson.
And if the team's controversial owner, Dan Snyder, agrees to sell, the deal itself would be legendary, setting a record high price tag for a U.S. sports franchise. NBC News correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now from outside of FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. Ryan, update us on the latest there.
Yeah, Valerie and Zinkley, good morning. And it appears that the Dan Snyder era here in Washington is over. And for long-suffering fans of this club that have been mired in losing seasons and under a cloud of controversy, the end cannot come soon enough. This morning, Washington Commanders fans waking up to a potential new ownership. Longtime and embattled owner Dan Snyder agreeing in principle to a $6 billion bid to sell the NFL franchise. The pending winning bid came from a group that included basketball superstar Magic Johnson, who told Craig earlier this month about his hopes for the team.
I've gotten a ring in every sport, but I need a Super Bowl ring. And I would love to be the owner of the Commanders.
Under Snyder's stewardship, the team's image has imploded, fueled by poor play on the field and accusations of a toxic work environment, as well as allegations of sexual harassment of team employees and cheerleaders. Fans rejoiced over the news.
Can't wait for a new blood, new action.
Lisa Banks represents a group of the team's former employees.
I think it's finally some sense of accountability for what all of these women and men have suffered through.
But Snyder did everything he could to hold on, attempting to reset the narrative by dropping the Redskins nickname, criticized as racist against some Native Americans, in favor of the Commanders, unveiling the new name here on Today.
We are the Commanders.
It wasn't enough. Soon, fellow members of the tight-knit fraternity of NFL owners started to break, pressuring Snyder to put the team on the market. Banks is hoping the new ownership leads to change.
We have had significant concerns with how the league has handled it, and I can only hope that they have learned their lesson.
And one of the big questions for this new ownership group is where the team will ultimately play. Many fans would like to see this aging stadium behind me replaced, and they're hoping that they'll be able to strike a deal to build a new stadium back within the Washington, D.C. city limits. Valerie and Zinkley.
All right, we'll see what happens. Ryan, thanks so much. Coming up, there are new developments this morning in the murder of a tech titan in San Francisco.
What police are now saying about the suspect as he prepares to appear before a judge this morning.
Welcome back. The man accused of murdering tech executive Bob Lee is scheduled to be arraigned in San Francisco later today.
Police say Lee and his suspected killer, who also works in tech, knew one another, but officers did not speculate about a potential motive. NBC News national correspondent Miguel Almaguer has more from San Francisco. Miguel.
Hi, guys. Good morning. This is where police found Bob Lee after he called 911 and was struggling to stay alive. Now, 10 days later, investigators say they have the man who stabbed the tech executive to death.
Moments before Bob Lee was captured, staggering down a San Francisco street, mortally wounded, police say this man, Nima Momeni, stabbed the 43-year-old multiple times. The two tech executives, acquaintances.
Chief, what can you tell me about the suspect and the victim's interaction prior to the murder?
Well, the evidence is that they knew each other, and there's still more to delve into in terms of what the depth of that relationship was.
The 38-year-old suspect, expected in court later today, was arrested during a Thursday morning raid at his Bay Area live-work loft. A self-described entrepreneur, Momeni launched a tech company, Expand IT, in 2010.
Was there some type of altercation that they went into before the stabbing occurred?
Not exactly. I can't disclose.
TheDailyMail.com obtained this surveillance video of Lee, who appeared to try and wave down help at 2:35 a.m. Tuesday, April 4th.
There's a male screaming help, saying someone stabbed me. Advise he's bleeding out.
Police would not say if Lee identified his attacker when he called 911 or if the murder weapon was recovered.
How long have you been looking at this suspect and tracking him?
I don't have a specific timeline, but I just know that our folks were following evidence and eventually led to our suspect.
A tech titan who created the mobile payment service Cash App, Lee was a father of two who had recently moved from the city to Miami. His family saying Bob loved being in San Francisco and San Francisco loved Bob. After his murder, the city vilified by many, including Elon Musk, for being soft on crime and a haven for lawlessness.
Reckless and irresponsible statements like those contained in Mr. Musk's tweet that assumed incorrect circumstances about Mr. Lee's death serve to mislead the world in their perceptions of San Francisco.
As San Francisco leaders fired back, they insist the tragedy that unfolded could have happened anywhere. And now, in a case that shook the city to its core, an arrest has been made.
How confident are you in the strength of the evidence that you do have, that you have the right guy, and that you can make a conviction?
I'm absolutely confident. Absolutely confident.
Later today in court documents, we should learn new details. Prosecutors should lay out some of their evidence, and it could even point to a possible motive. Guys, back to you.
We know you'll stay on it, Miguel Almaguer. Thank you so much.
Let's turn to some international news now. The city of Bakhmut is under pressure from an ongoing Russian attack.
So let's bring back NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga. He joins us now from Rome for this and more news around the world. Claudio, good morning.
Valerie, good morning. Yes, Russian forces are making major advances through the eastern Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. Now, according to British military updates, Russian forces are moving with intensity. The Kremlin sees this city important as they make their way through eastern Ukraine. If successful, capturing this city could be pivotal in taking on more territory. Now let's turn to Colombia, where a deadly bridge collapse took the lives of 2 officers and injured 15 others. You can see some of the major damage here. Cars were smashed and destroyed, According to the local mayor, about 60% of the national transport passes through that area. The town is one of the major suppliers of products like coffee and bananas. There is some concern that the damage could impact the area. The bridge, built back in 1984, had regular inspections with no immediate concerns. Authorities are still investigating the cause. We are now in Berlin, where the world's oldest gorilla just got another year wiser. The gorilla named Fatou celebrated her 66th birthday by munching on some edible presents like fruits and berries. The Berlin Zoo says that sugary gifts are a special treat. Fatou has a unique diet because of her age. The average lifespan of a gorilla is up to about 40 years. She has beat out those numbers by 2 decades. So happy birthday, Fatou. Back to you guys.
Happy birthday. Sounds like a tasty present.
So what's 66 gorilla years in human years?
Oh, we'll have to ask them.
Quite a bit. Claudio, thank you so much.
Thank you. And coming up, GOP hopefuls are flocking to the NRA's national convention today.
But against a backdrop of mass shootings and organizational scandal, how much influence does the event carry? That's next.
The NRA begins its annual meeting today in Indianapolis, and former President Donald Trump is expected to be among several Republicans to appear and speak. This event comes after recent mass shootings in Louisville, Kentucky, and Nashville, Tennessee. So to dig into this, we're joined by NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen to talk more. Jonathan, it's good to see you. So let's focus on the former president first. Trump, remind us, what is his position on gun reform, gun restrictions, and what is he expected to say later today?
Well, good to see you, Clay. Donald Trump's position on gun reform has changed with the times, but broadly, he's somebody who talks a lot about protecting Second Amendment rights. We know that he moved to ban bump stocks, those devices that make it easier for automatic weapons to fire more quickly. When he was president, that's been caught up in the courts. He's talked about trying to harden schools, basically make those a little tougher for would-be shooters to penetrate. And he's also talked about mental health. And this is sort of the talking point of the political right, is that if you solved mental health problems, you wouldn't have mass shootings. But it'll be interesting to see what Trump has to say today in the wake of these recent mass shootings in Nashville and Louisville. My guess is that you're going to hear a lot more about defending the Second Amendment than finding ways to restrict it.
And Jonathan, we know these conventions tend to be just sort of a political center. Who are some of the other Republican presidential hopefuls expected to attend? And also, why is it so important for them to show up, particularly after these recent mass shootings?
In what's been a very unusual event in the last year and a half or so, you're going to see Mike Pence and Donald Trump in the same place. You remember, of course, they split over whether or not Mike Pence should be grabbed by a rioting crowd on January 6th. And they are not frequently in the same place at the same time, but they will be here today in Indianapolis. You can see people behind me starting to walk into the convention center, getting ready to hear from Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire. There are going to be some people who are, I guess, mailing it in by video feed. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is in New Hampshire today and obviously dealing with the flooding in Florida and is supposed to appear by video.
And Jonathan, beyond sort of the political players, we know that the NRA as an institution has been hit by scandals and lawsuits recently. So how much political influence and power does the organization wield these days, particularly as public pressure for gun reform appears to be mounting?
Yeah, they have less money than they used to. They're spending less money in political campaigns, so their direct influence is much diminished. But the fact that they can get all these presidential candidates to appear live or by video speaks to what the power that they still have, which is as a conduit between their members, the activists, the gun enthusiasts who want to see gun rights preserved. Some of the members here are people who would like to see some restrictions or are okay with some restrictions, but broadly as a conduit between gun enthusiasts and the political candidates. And so it's a huge platform for these candidates to reach those audiences, and that's why you're going to see them here.
And Jonathan, I wonder, are there any politicians who will be notably absent? I understand DeSantis may be joining virtually, or any other surprises you're looking out for?
Obviously always looking for surprises. It'd be interesting to see if any of these candidates get up here and talk about gun restrictions, about anything that the majority of Americans want in terms of some of those gun restrictions. I think it's unlikely, but that would be certainly a surprise to push back on the note and the theme of the day. I think most likely, though, what we're going to hear is a whole lot of rah-rah about the Second Amendment and the importance that folks here place on being able to have access to weapons.
We know you'll keep on it, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Now to the monumental lawsuit against Fox News by Dominion Voting Systems. Jury selection got underway yesterday, and the trial is set to begin next week. Dominion accuses Fox of damaging its reputation by promoting false claims following the 2020 presidential election. NBC News senior reporter Jane Tim joins us now with the latest. Good morning, Jane. Jury selection started yesterday. How did the first day go, and what are they asking potential jurors about?
So from the court's perspective, it went very well because they have enough jurors to impanel the jury they need. The magic number here is about 42 based on alternates and how many that the lawyers themselves can strike, something called challenges. Those strikes and challenges where the lawyers say, you know what, I don't want that person on my jury. They get a certain number each side. Those will happen Monday, and then they will swear the jury in and go straight to opening arguments. The questions they ask these jurors are fascinating. I'm holding up the sheet. It's quite long, actually. Usually this can be a short document that they ask jurors, and they say things like, have you ever, a family member or a close friend, ever served as an election judge? Have you ever volunteered at a polling place? Have you ever worked in a newsroom? Do you have personal opinions about people, the lawyers or the witnesses or some of the subjects of this case? These questions are designed to ferret out bias that's going to get in the way of what the judge believes is having an impartial jury. So answering yes doesn't get you taken off the jury immediately, but it does get you extra questions from the judge. That all happened yesterday. And then they're going to actually just do the magic of seating the jury and figuring out who's going to actually do that from the pool of impartial jurors they know they have already.
And we know the stakes are high for both Fox and Dominion in this trial. Dominion will have to prove that not only were the statements false, but that Fox acted with malice. That's typically a very high bar to meet in a defamation case, but perhaps not as difficult for Dominion in this case?
So Dominion's already met the bar that they have to prove that cases are false. In the summary judgment hearing, the judge said, you know what, these claims, the conspiracy theories about the election, there's no evidence for them. So we're not going to talk about falsity there. So they've met one standard. But as you said, the malice thing, actual malice, which is knowing falsity or reckless disregard for the truth, is an incredibly high bar because you have to know the state of the mind of the journalist who created those statements or created the broadcast and was responsible for that. This is very high bar. The text messages, emails, contemporaneous conversations, and depositions, those sorts of things will go to state of mind. But what's really important here is to, put the noise and the headlines aside. It's what did the specific journalist know at the time they made the specific challenged broadcast. It's a very fine line that they're going to have to draw here.
And is it surprising or even unusual that the two sides haven't just settled? What is Fox's defense here?
I think a lot of people are watching maybe this weekend. This is the last chance. I mean, you can settle up into the verdict, don't get me wrong. But if you want to avoid going to court, this is your last chance, right? But I think Dominion wants to have this trial. If you read their briefings, the sense that I get from these lawyers and from reading what they're writing is that they don't want to settle. They want to have this fight. They feel they have been defamed, and this company has been made in some ways a household name because of conspiracy theories about the election, and they want to make it a household name this way, reclaiming it, if you will. But anything's possible.
Certainly to be a fascinating trial to watch. Jane, thanks so much.
Coming up, it's been 10 years since the country was rocked by the Boston Marathon bombing.
Up next, we'll show you how one woman turned an unimaginable loss into an opportunity to help others. Welcome back. Let's get to some money news. Amazon has some plans to put their own spin on artificial intelligence.
Let's bring back CNBC's Silvana Henao for this and more financial news. Silvana, good morning.
Good morning, Zinkley. Good morning, Valerie. Yeah, so Amazon is cranking up the competition against Microsoft and Google in AI. Amazon's cloud division, AWS, is launching a new set of tools designed to help other companies develop their own chatbots and image-generating services. AWS will offer a service called Bedrock, and it lets businesses customize the core AI technology that does things like respond to questions with human-like text with their own data or create a unique model. Customers can test drive the technology without having to deal with the data center servers that power them. Twitter has launched its subscriptions program, which is a rebranding of Super Follows. Now, this lets users charge subscribers $3, $5, or $10 a month for exclusive content, including subscriber-only chats in Twitter Spaces. The company is also promising not to take a cut for a year, and Twitter is trying to give creators more ways to keep their subscribers engaged and on the platform, which in turn lets it serve them with ads. Uber wants riders to go green this month for Earth Day. From now through April 30th, it's offering discounted Uber Comfort rides in luxury electric vehicles like Tesla, Polestar, and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Now, riders should use the code GOElectric when booking. The offer comes as Uber has added Uber Comfort to several cities in North America, including New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Washington, Seattle, Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and Toronto. Now, the focus on electric vehicles is part of Uber's pledge to become a zero-emissions platform by 2030. So it certainly seems that everything is going in that direction, which is good.
So many options there.
Yeah, lots of companies making climate pledges. Silvana,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Got it.
And tomorrow marks 10 years since 2 bombs were set off near the finish line of the Boston Marathon. 3 people were killed and hundreds more were injured. The incident also sparked a 4-day manhunt that brought the city of Boston to a standstill. NBC News correspondent Jacob Soboroff has the story of how one survivor turned tragedy into triumph.
Take me back to April 15th, 2013.
I was going up to Boston that day to watch the Red Sox game. We left the game a little bit early and decided to head over to the finish line.
But unimaginable terror was about to unfold. Just before 3 p.m., the first bomb went off less than a block from the finish line. 12 seconds later, a second bomb went off.
An apparent coordinated attack in Boston.
3 people were killed and more than 260 injured in the chilling attack.
There is no clearer picture as to who may be behind this.
Which brought Boston to a standstill during a 4-day manhunt for the men who orchestrated the attack, brothers Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Heather Abbott stood just feet from the exploding bomb.
I was catapulted through the air and landed on the floor of the restaurant.
When she woke up in the hospital, doctors told Heather her foot was shattered and her leg should be amputated.
I made the decision and I never looked back.
After several grueling surgeries, Heather got her first prosthetic leg.
When you started using your prosthetic, it must have been incredibly frustrating.
It was very frustrating. It was extremely painful at first, and it was very hard to balance.
With her walking leg, Heather couldn't run, get her leg wet, or wear high heels. But thanks to the generosity of strangers, Heather eventually received 6 different prosthetic legs and felt like she got her life back.
You decided, now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to help other people.
Before I became an amputee, I had no idea that you even needed different prosthetic legs for different activities, or that there was very limited insurance coverage for them. So I was fortunate in a sense, if I had to lose my limb in any way, to have it be such a public one.
Heather knew others weren't so lucky. So in 2014, the Heather Abbott Foundation was founded. Its mission to help other amputees get the prostheses they need to live a full life. One of the first amputees Heather helped was Corey Tickle. Corey was just 2 years old when she lost her left leg in a lawnmower accident. Corey's insurance only covered a walking leg.
I would get upset, kids would be running down the field and that I couldn't keep up.
Then Corey received a blade prosthetic from Heather's foundation, and she could run again.
You've lived half your life with the blade.
Yeah.
And half your life without.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was like before versus after?
Before, it was not being able to keep up with everybody, and after I got it, I could be just as good as everybody else.
Corey's outlook had a huge impact on Heather.
I thought I had all this wisdom and experience, but I think I found out pretty soon on that Corey had a lot more wisdom and experience than I did.
Heather and Corey were victims in tragedies they couldn't control, but now they're using the outpouring of love from strangers to lift up others near and far.
Yeah.
Is there something about this foundation that brings you a sense of this is what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment in time?
I don't know if I subscribe to the everything happens for a reason theory, but I do feel that this is what I'm meant to be doing now.
Such a moving report. We thank Jacob Soboroff for that. And since 2014, the Heather Abbott Foundation has raised more than $2 million and helped over 100 amputees. And coming up, Uncaged. Nick Cage is back, and he's taking on one of Hollywood's most famous roles.
We've got all the latest and greatest in a busy box office weekend. Your can't miss list is next. A Major League Baseball team is off to a historic start, accomplishing something that hasn't been seen in 35 years. Last night, the Tampa Bay Rays knocked off the Boston Red Sox to win their 13th game in a row. This ties the 1982 Atlanta Braves and the 1987 Milwaukee Brewers for the best start since 1900. Yes, 1900. The only team with a longer opening streak was the 1884 St. Louis Maroons, who won their first 20 games. St. Louis Maroons are obviously not a team anymore.
I was going to say, St. Louis has a team. Maroons aren't there, but still impressive record nonetheless.
Hopefully their uniforms were at least maroon.
I would hope so.
I would think so,
We would
right?
think so. We'll take a look. But it's also Friday, which means it's time to talk about all the shows, movies, and music that you just can't miss.
There's a lot coming out this weekend.
Luckily, USA Today's Entertain This host, Ralphie Aversa, is here to help us sort through it all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you both for having me.
Of course. So I hear it's a good weekend if you like scary movies. I do not, but apparently I don't.
Yeah, same.
But there are 3.
I was looking at this can't miss list like, is this April or is this October?
Right.
Like, what's really going on here? But we'll start with Renfield, of course. That's the movie starring Nicolas Cage, who plays Count Dracula. USA Today film critic Brian Truitt says this basically could be a sequel to the 1931 classic Dracula. Nicholas Hoult Awkwafina also in this one. By the way, if you're wondering, our Brian Truitt gave it 2 out of 4 stars. You can check out his full review at usatoday.com.
And if you're like Zinkley and you don't like scary movies, how about something a little more lighthearted? Tell us about Mafia Mama.
All right, yeah. I mean, I guess it's like relative to this list, it's a little lighthearted. Toni Collette stars in it, and in it she plays somebody who's got to go back to Italy for a funeral. When she arrives back in Italy, though, she finds out that she's actually the head of a winemaking mafia family that's embroiled in a feud with another mafia family, a rival family, and so there's a whole lot of pasta and cannolis and Godfather references. You could say they're served up family style. There you go.
All right, the drama. And I hear there were other scary movies, right? This week?
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the Pope's Exorcist, starring Russell Crowe, is, well, based off of a true story, believe it or not. Father Amorth was an exorcist hired by the Vatican. He claimed to have performed over 100,000 exorcisms, and his book is what inspired this movie, again, starring the great Russell Crowe. So, yeah, not exactly light spring viewing, but if you're into horror, this is right up your alley.
And then Nefarious, right? Feeling intense.
Yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery stars in this one. So he plays a serial killer who, on the day that he's supposed to be executed, he has a psychological exam, and he tells his psychologist that he's a demon and that his psychologist is going to commit 3 murders. So, again, light viewing, not so much. Sean Patrick Flannery, by the way, you may remember from Powder. Remember mid-90s, maybe? No?
Again, not as...
Boondock Saints as well. Yes. You might know him from, too. There you go. So, Nefarious out this weekend.
Okay, but of course, not everyone likes scary stuff, especially, I guess, if you're watching in the morning. So I hear Marvelous Miss Maisel, 5th and final season.
Yes.
What should we be expecting from that?
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. This has been a critically acclaimed show, Emmy Award-winning show, Golden Globe-winning show. I spoke with Rachel Brosnahan, actually, at the Emmys, and she said that, oh, look at this. I'm filmed in New York City, which you love that.
Right.
You watch, you try to see, you know, do I recognize this place? Do I not? Rachel was telling me, though, that she really cherished her time on set with this cast and crew. So did Tony Shalhoub. They both won Emmys for their roles. Tony told me that this show's going out on a high note. So Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Amazon Prime Video, first 3 episodes are out this weekend.
I am looking forward to that. And what else is streaming this weekend that we can't miss?
Okay, so as far as TV shows as well, we have Florida Man, which is on Netflix. Jason Bateman is an executive producer on this. I have a funny Bateman story if we have time at the end. Edgar Ramirez stars in it. He plays a disgraced cop who has to return to Florida and do a bunch of things that, well, we read about Florida men doing in the headlines.
Oh, wow. And then, of course, if you're not watching stuff, you might want to listen. Coachella is happening, but it's also being live streamed for those of us who have not been.
Yeah, so if it's more like Couchcella for you know what I mean? Coachella streaming on YouTube. Bad Bunny, the headliner tonight. Friday night, we have Blackpink headlining tomorrow night, Saturday night, and then Frank Ocean on Sunday. You also want to look out for Blink-182 performing a set this weekend, a last-second edition, and you saw Calvin Harris there, too. He's returning to the desert as well to perform a set after Blackpink tomorrow night. So Coachella this weekend and next weekend. I think Blink might only be performing this weekend, though. So if you want to catch them,
I know,
you want to tune in.
Valerie had wanted to see them. So yes, and then briefly, anything else in streaming? Anything else we shouldn't be missing?
All right, so Ellie Goulding's got a new album out as well. Oh, Post Malone's got a new song out called Chemical. This is really interesting. I emailed Republic Records. I didn't hear back from them. Mick Jagger is credited on the new Post Malone song. He's playing maracas. I don't know if he actually went into the studio to play for Post or if Post sampled, because he's played out that instrument on Rolling Stone's track. So I don't know what the deal is there, but nonetheless, new Post Malone song, really, really good, called Chemical. His 5th album coming out later this year.
All right, we'll have to listen. Ralphie, thank you so much.
We'll save the Bateman story for another time.
Another time, next week. All right, that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.